All right, guys, this is the moment. We are live here. Angela just got the big news. She is cancer-free, and if you don't know, this bell is a big deal here at the Cancer Pavilion. This is a cancer-free bell that she's about to ring, and ringing in a second chance at life right now. So.
And it's fun, you know, bring on all good, all good. All right, family, friends.
I'll scoot on in front of y'all. Sorry.
And we're going to count down to one and everyone. Let's go. Let's together. 3, 2, 1. I'm done. Cancer is gone. That's right. She had no invite.
Last year around this time, I just happened to be in the kitchen, me and Grayson, and I just happened to touch my left breast. And the best way I can describe it is it felt like a little tiny Vienna sausage, like deep in my breast. And I said, okay, this does not feel right.
Right.
And I knew I was going to see my neurologist in like another week or so. And mind you, cancer was the furthest thing from my mind. I just thought it just didn't feel right, but never in a million years could you have told me that it was going to turn out to be breast cancer. So I met with the neurologist. She said it didn't feel right. She sent me in for, I did the mammogram. I did a new mammogram first. And then they sent me over to get an ultrasound. And then the radiologist came in, and of course he had like this bad news face, and still it hadn't hit me yet. Like, something is wrong. So we went in and they ordered the biopsy in the 1st of May. It was on the telephone, you have breast cancer. And when I heard the news, it was, okay, what next? It was never this breakdown thing. I will admit there was like 1 week when I just started planning my own funeral. Oh. Yeah, I started planning my own funeral. I wanted to, you know, who's gonna be here, how we're gonna do it, because anybody who knows me knows I want to be cremated actually. Oh. And I know that's a little morbid for people, but then that thought just went away. Yeah. I started talking to one of my sisters, and she was like, girl, we got this. And we showed up together every day for cancer. My daughter, she showed up. My sisters, they showed up. I have a sister that's here with me. She literally gets off at 6:30 in the morning, drives almost an hour into Baton Rouge to ensure that I was never alone. Never alone.
And I think people forget to get regular testing.
They do. And
were you doing regular mammograms or regular checkups?
That would have been my 3rd year consistently doing a mammogram. My mammograms are every year in June. And like I said, I found the mass that ended in that February. Breast cancer is not in my family. Mm-hmm. So all I can say is, at this point, I don't care how old you are, you should be examining your body monthly. And if you find something that does not look right, does not feel right, discuss it with your doctor. And pressed to have those mammograms, those ultrasounds. And in my case, since I still have bullets and bullet fragments in me,
right.
I couldn't have the MRI. I couldn't have the MRI, so I went straight to a PET scan.
Okay.
Which I don't understand why everybody just don't get PET scans immediately, because
they don't want
they don't
pay for it.
Insurance doesn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
But then what the PET scan does, it looks at everything in your body, any inflammation, anything that you have in your body, it'll find.
Right.
But just examining yourself.
Yeah.
Examining yourself, because for me, it was environmental. I did the genetic screening, and that came back negative, and so it was just diagnosed that it was, environmental. So now, you have to be in conversation with, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body?
Right.
Exercise, maintaining your diet, just trying to stay cancer-free.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you can do for yourself, do it.
Yeah. No, I think it's huge, because so many people find out too far in.
Right.
Because they're not doing regular blood work. They're not doing regular physicals. They're not doing regular mammograms. And men or women, for men, it's more the blood work and the
Right.
physicals and the prostate exams and all of those things, because they're uncomfortable.
Right.
Prostate exam's not pleasant.
Right.
Neither's a mammogram. These are uncomfortable, pain, awkward exams. But if it can catch it early, and then can prevent the cancer from spreading, and then,
Right.
like you mentioned, now you've starting to analyze what you guys eat at the house.
Yes, yeah. So right before this, me and my daughter were discussing maybe being vegan, right? Which we can do is just figuring out what to eat, how to prepare those meals. And I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people, is when they decide to eat clean,
Yeah.
they don't know how to eat or what to cook.
Right.
And what I find works for us is meal prepping.
Yeah.
It takes the urge away from eating things that we shouldn't eat, and it gives you an opportunity to put on your plate the proportion size that you need. So it's work, but at the end of the day, you're taking care of yourself.
Are y'all going vegan? I like meat too much. I can't do it.
I don't know, because every now and then I do like a little pork chop. I love steak.
Yeah, me too.
So I just think a lot of it's moderation.
Yeah.
Moderation, because
Well, the healthy, all-nat meats, no processed, and I love that we're already starting to see chemicals and dyes and things being banned now by the
Yes.
FDA.
Yeah.
I don't care where you're at politically. We're not getting into politics right now. I say I don't care where you're at. I think both sides can agree we could be healthier and
Yes.
eat better in this country.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in our food, in our water. They call it Cancer Alley over there. The pollution.
Yes.
We could do a better job in so many areas to where we wouldn't have all these cancers.
Right.
Look, the girl I dated in high school, she passed away at 40 years old from breast cancer. And it's like people our age, dying of cancer here,
Right.
and it has a lot to do with, like you said, the environment,
Right.
what we're breathing and what we're eating.
Right.
So I think we as a community just need to look at healthier choices in the kitchen, and
Yes.
then hopefully we make a lot of money from these refineries, but we don't know what's being put into the water, the air. I have friends that work at some of the plants, and they're like, Brandon, I'm literally trading my health for $150,000 a year.
Right, because my son works at one of the plants, and I look at him and I'm just like, every day you go into this chemical plant, inhaling all of this different stuff, and you don't even know what you're inhaling.
Yeah.
You're giving your life away for X amount of dollars. But like I said, the joke was, at this point in our life, we need to have our own chickens, our own cows, our own gardens, so we can monitor what we're feeding.
Yeah.
Any animals that we choose to eat. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough.
I realize little basic habits, the things I do because I meal prep.
Right.
And I have my meal prep containers, but then they're all plastic.
Exactly.
And then I put them in the microwave.
Exactly.
And I'm realizing like that's a terrible habit.
Right.
You know, and I've got to break away from that, and you know, it needs to be heated up on a glass plate.
Right.
You know, the air fryer instead of the microwave.
Exactly.
And they have the glass internal air fryers are a couple dollars more, but you don't have all the carcinogens and stuff. So, you know, or old school heated up on the stove.
Right. Now, my 14-year-old, Cameron, he refuses to use the microwave. He gets on us. He was like, "Well, you just don't cook your food on the stove."
It tastes better. It takes 2-3 minutes longer, but it does taste better.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in a microwave.
That's good.
So, but the flip
He's
side
smarter
is
than us. He's 14.
he's kind of bad though. He loves his hot wings. He loves burgers, but like I said, it's a choice of how you eat. You just have to commit to it and be consistent with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't want to preach to everybody about how they should eat, but you know, it is a key. And I think obviously it helped with your recovery.
It did. So when I was diagnosed, of course, I went to YouTube and TikTok. And one of the biggest things that you hear a lot about is the soursop fruit. So it was tough finding it, but I did find soursop tea. Mm-hmm. And I love tea.
Yeah.
But the thing was, can't be using the sugar. You can't eat rice because cancer loves sugar. Mm-hmm. That's how it grows and multiplies. Yep. So you have to remove the cancer. You have to remove the sugar. And just really more fruits.
Right.
More fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. I've been working with a medical team on a stem cell business and talking to these guys, some of them oncologists and brilliant doctors, and these things that used to be conspiracy theories, and they called Mel Gibson crazy and all this, and I was talking to them, and people are beating cancer with these natural therapies.
Right.
And I said, "Hey, did you hear about this?" He goes, "Oh, that's Joe Tippin's protocol. I'll send it to you."
Right.
He's like, "That's been around for years." And like some of these things that we're not hearing about.
Because
they've been around for years, but they've been with your more natural, holistic doctor, and we're starting to see now that a lot of those old herbal and natural, what you eat, what you put in your body, can really help diminish or cure the cancer. And you know, it's not always just chemo, which is poison. You know, which is
right. So when I was first presented with the option of chemo and radiation, in my mind I felt like, because when I was diagnosed, it was stage 2. And I felt like maybe if I had a little more time, I probably would have bypassed the chemo and radiation and opted for a more holistic way. Because I personally feel like your body has everything that it needs to heal itself, and what you don't have, the way that you eat, the things that you put in your body can convert that to what you need. Chemo, it was rough. Round 2 and round 4. I was scheduled for 16 rounds. I completed 6 because it was deemed more harmful than helpful. I spent about 3 weeks in the hospital at the end of September, going into October. I started losing my hair in round 2.
By the way, your hair looks good.
Oh, thank you. And what I did was, the way that television shows that you're losing hair, like it might just shed out, that is not the truth. My hair literally was lifting off of my scalp. I would have like little tiny strands of hair just on my scalp. And I just got to the point, I was like, you know what? I want to cut my own hair off. I don't want to be tied to the hair, waking up with hair on my pillow, with chunks of hair on my pillows. So my daughter and I had one of my sisters come in from Florida, and we just started snipping my hair out. And then my brother-in-law got the clippers and cut it all out, and I was bald. And my son says, "Okay, you can go to Walmart. We're just not ready for carpool yet." He thought I had a stale milk dud head. That's how he described it. So, but I embraced it. I thought I was going to wear like a lot of wigs. But no, I went out just as bald as day, and I would pull up sometimes into drive-thrus, and I would see the reactions of people, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I forgot I was bald." You know, there's a lot of people. It's they just don't expect to see
Right.
bald people. And a lot of people these days, when they see someone, they're not sure if it's cancer or alopecia, or if I was some new age woman, I just thought I was going to cut all my hair off.
Right.
You know, and honestly, I would have never done that. I would have never cut my hair off like that.
No Sinead O'Connor for you?
No.
Britney Spears?
No.
Mental breakdown?
But that was almost one of the easiest things to do when I cut
Right.
it. And, you know, I had the support of my sisters and my daughter. And I got through it.
Yeah.
I got through it.
What was the hardest part?
Telling my kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have 4, and the reaction was different for all of them. My oldest one, when I told Jordan, he rubbed his head, and he just said, "Ma." And he said, "I'll be back." And he walked out, and he went and sat in the living room. My daughter, Julie, when I told her, she went and sat in the closet and cried. Cameron, his words were, "All right, Ma, seem like you need to get on the smoke train." He encouraged the more holistic Blaze, and he went out the room. But for him, it was hard seeing me as if I was sick. Like, you know, without a beanie on my head,
Right.
or in the bed because I didn't feel well. That was hard for him. But Julie, she just embraced it. She embraces everything. You know, she's been like my A1 sidekick since, you know, my initial injury.
Yeah.
You know, she just kind of make sure things run really smooth. You know, and then I said my sister, that's from way on the other side of Clinton, she's like, for everybody. I don't know how she manages to show up for everybody, everywhere. And she still worked 12, 13-hour shifts.
Right.
You know? But, and my little niece, you know, her daughter, she would encourage us to eat right, because my great niece has to eat clean. So, it just became a family thing.
Yeah.
A family thing.
I could see where telling the kids would be really.
Yeah, that was the toughest part.
After everything y'all have already persevered through
Yeah.
and overcome, you know, it's like, shit, here we go. Yeah.
That's exactly how it was, because,
Here we go again.
you know, they say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I had made out this whole business plan for 2024 and had mapped out all my goals and what I was going to do monthly and weekly and daily. And then God said, knock, knock, got something for you. And cancer was presented. And I was like, God, is this what we do in 2024? Like, really? And that was all of 2024. Like, today actually signifies me bringing in 2025.
Right.
Because I still felt stuck in May of 2024.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the chemo and cancer and radiation, and, you know, is radiation and turning my body dark? Because it is one of the side effects.
Oh, really? Dark
It
in your skin?
darkens the treated area. I had the reconstruction surgery done in November. And if it was up to me, I would have had a double mastectomy and a total hysterectomy, because the type of cancer I have is an estrogen-driven cancer. And I was like, get rid of...
All the tissue.
Yeah. But the surgeon thought that it would be best for me, because of my physical condition, to just have a lumpectomy. And what that is they just went into a portion of the breast that had the tumor, removed some good tissue around it, and then they did the reconstructive surgery on the breast.
No hysterectomy.
No hysterectomy, but that still is on the table, because that's one less medication I would have to take
Right.
for the next 5 years. Because the treatment plan right now is a monthly injection and a daily pill
Okay.
for the next 5 years.
And what's the injection?
The injection is to help with the suppression of the estrogen.
Okay.
And like I said, if I can just get rid of what's producing the estrogen, which is your ovaries, it would get rid of the the injection.
Gotcha.
And there is some medications, ironically, you could only take them for 5 years because they've been found to be cancer causing.
That's the problem with all these medicines. Like, they fix one thing and cause another.
Right.
And so it's like you said, that some of the natural remedies are still some of the better ones long term.
Right, and that's what I feel like. I feel like I've had a reset on the inside of my body due to the chemo and the radiation.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to treat my body well.
Yeah.
Treat my body well.
So for women out there, you know, that are feeling down, feeling, you know, like they don't have the support group you have, you know, what would you say to, you know, a woman who's just gotten, like you said, when you called me, I think I was a little more choked up than you on the phone when you told me that you had cancer. I was like, I got off the phone and I was like, Jen, I can't fucking believe this. You know, Angela just called me. I was like, why? And I said some evil shit. I said, there's about 10 people I would give the cancer to gladly. But before I was like, she don't deserve it. I was like, I could name 10 people that don't deserve it right now that I wish I could give it to. You know, like I was so angry. And, you know, but you kind of just took it in stride.
I did, because I felt like I had to make sure everybody else around me was okay. Because if I came to someone, you know, oh, I have cancer, it would have made it bad for everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to tote all of that.
Yeah.
So it was, okay, let me tell you something. And we're just going to go right through this speed bump and go, okay? Found out I had cancer, but this is what we're doing. And that's what I kind of just tell everyone. And people would say, if Angela is okay, they had no other choice but to be okay. And me and my sister would show up for chemotherapy, and I had to pray on it maybe like 3 weeks in a row, because we would show up, we would be happy, laughing and talking to people, but then there were people who were getting their treatments that you can tell they had the weight of the world on them.
Sure.
And I felt bad for still being so joyous, but I went in prayer, and it was, God gives you joy, and no one can take joy away from you. So I just figured we'd find a way to make other people happy while we're going through this. And to answer your question, what I would say to someone who wouldn't have a strong support group, who feel like they're on their own, in reality, you're not. You're not by yourself. This cancer affects so many people in so many different ways. I promise, if you just mention to one person, that one person is going to rally behind you and bring in a whole bunch of other people to support you.
Yeah.
And we all have something on our plates. We all are living rough moments. And one of my sisters played a Kevin Gates video yesterday, and it was how you embrace your trials. You know, you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to scream, but don't stay in those moments, because those are just moments. You're gonna get through them. You just have to find a way. And a lot of times it may seem weird, but I sat in the mirror and I talked to myself a lot sometimes. When I would feel like I wasn't being me, I would get in the mirror and I'd be like, girl, who are you? You know you built better than this, right? You know you built stronger than this. Why are you allowing this to make you feel that way? And I roll out the bathroom and I'm like, okay, kids, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, because I have to show up for my kids every day.
Right.
You know, I felt like I wasn't given a chance to be sad.
Yeah.
You know, even when I was initially injured with the shooting, it's like I was shot on a Wednesday, and on Friday I was ready to go back to work. You know, and it's with the support and just that internal drive that's inside of me.
Yeah.
You know, you have to show up.
I love it. And you do. I mean, you inspire me. You inspire a lot of people because you've overcome so much. And today, you know, you mentioned you had your business plan for last year.
Yes.
So we just need to like scratch out the 4 and
I know, that's what I said. I was supposed to make it and turn it into a 5.
on top. And
yeah.
you know, I think in American societies, we don't always support each other enough.
No, we don't.
When you look at incomes, you know, Asian and Middle Eastern, because they work together.
Right.
You know, I worked for a lot of foreign investors that came here with nothing, and these guys, they all work together. They open the restaurants together. Now they own half the restaurants in town because they work together as a community and collaborated. You know, women, I do find when there's breast cancer, and some of the support, the women's support groups can be very powerful.
They are.
And like you mentioned, you know, people who feel alone, some of those groups, you know, are you ready? Are you going full time back into real estate? What's the move now?
Yeah. So, anybody who knows me know that if I wasn't a realtor, I would be a high school teacher. I would teach biology, anatomy, and physiology, and I would coach volleyball and track because I love just pouring into people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want people to know that I'm still here as your realtor. But a lot of it, I want to kind of shift back towards coaching other agents, bringing them into production, just helping other people grow.
Yeah. Well, and you know, why I bring up the working together is like, I think that, you know, there's a group like women who survive cancer.
Right.
You guys have a bond that is very unique.
Right.
And there's that community and there's that willingness to help one another and lift one another up. You know, and so, you know, like being the person who can serve for all the women who have survived cancer, breast cancer, or any type of cancer, you know, here, and not just for their business and real estate, but I mean, mental, like you said, coaching, personal, like, you know, you're someone who can uplift them just through conversation.
Right.
You know, because you are such a positive role model and such a positive outlook on, you know, challenges that most people would have given up the first time, you know, or wouldn't have even survived the shooting because they'd have just given up in the hospital. Yeah, and like, I give up. But, you know, instead, you fought through it, overcame everything. You've been on national stages. You know, you have a lot to offer people. And I think, you know, people need to know what you're, because now, like you said, you got a second, but you also got to provide for your family.
Right.
And so it's expensive. Treatments are expensive.
Treatments are expensive. Some of the bills are rolling in, and co-pays and chemo itself, each treatment.
Yeah.
God, it's crazy. So, you know, I've been in the business for 22 years, so I think I might know a little bit about real estate. But that's how I take care of my family.
Yeah.
That's how I'm able to help others that's in need. That is the driving factor of my life. My real estate business, that's the core of my life. And for all the things that make me a better person in this chair, real estate supports all of that. I am looking into doing a nonprofit, and like I said, my real estate is what drives all of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, you know, my joke was when I meet people and they're like, oh, you're so inspiring, and, you know, I don't see how you make it through, and, you know, what can I do for you? The first thing I say, the best thing you can do for me is send me a referral.
Hire me. Yeah, right.
You know,
let me do my job for you. Yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm not broken. You know, despite the fact that you may see me in this chair, I never lost any intelligence.
You drive?
I drive. My kids really give me no room to be quote unquote disabled. They really forget that, oh wait, my mom is paralyzed, or oh wait, my mom does have cancer. We just keep going.
Yeah.
You know, I found a way to make my business work.
Yeah.
I found a way to make it work.
No, we definitely need, you know, to make sure people know you're the best realtor, or the breast realtor. The breast realtor. It's and I mean, really, like, think about, like, that's a collaboration. Like, there's a lot of women business owners that their business suffers when they're going through treatment.
Yes.
And that's something where, like I love promoting local business. That's one of those things like that probably doesn't get talked about enough.
Right.
And some of the it's mostly just about but how do we support each other financially?
Right.
How do you collaborate with other business women who've been through cancer treatment and promote one another's businesses, shop at their stores, shop at their, restaurants, boutiques, whatever business they have, and buy real estate, rent real estate, like collaborating. I think that's something there. Like
collaboration is key.
And I'm sure there's, like you said, the groups through the hospital and everything. I'm sure there's probably some newsletters and ways to communicate with one another, and definitely put that word out there.
Right.
And then keep inspiring everybody.
Right.
The way you inspire me and everybody around the community.
We have Kim Kristoff here with us today. It just dropped in my spirit to have a conversation with her the other morning, and I hope she don't mind me sharing. But she's lost family members to cancer, and she's doing a lot now in the community. And when we talk about collaboration and supporting each other, that was a conversation her and I have, because right now she's doing a lot of fundraising for cancer, VR, and you can actually find that on Facebook, on Instagram, or you can go to Kim Kristoff's, her Facebook page. But just finding a way to support each other, going through all of this, and everyone else's dreams when it comes to, trying to get rid of cancer, man.
I lost my dad to cancer. Yeah. 8 years now.
Yeah. It was that December,
yes,
I think.
It was the day after Christmas.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I know, seeing it and seeing how quickly it can, without warning, and so, and seeing that now I see where there were opportunities where the tumor could have been cut out sooner.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot, and again, but my father would not get exams, would not go for physicals, would not do his checkups, and it probably would have got detected sooner too.
A lot of cancers can be resolved with early detection.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's on both sides. I look at where he could have done better,
right,
and the medical community. And so I am one, like when it comes to cancer fundraisers or anything, because we've suffered from it, and pretty much every family. Sadly, it's too many cases. It's too common.
Right.
Especially with all the technology we have today.
All right. And when I would tell people, I have cancer. Cancer is such a heavy word when you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, my household, we just stopped saying it.
Right.
We just totally stopped saying it. But like I said, early detection, screening, being an advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest ways to, to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, being aware, like knowing your body.
Right.
Something doesn't feel right.
Right.
Like if you're not in tune with your body, if you're not exercising, eating right, and you're kind of detached, and a lot of times that's when you don't notice something's wrong.
Right.
Because you're just kind of always
just going through the flow.
Yeah, feeling not so great.
Right.
So.
Yeah, don't be scared to go to the doctor. Use that insurance. Go. And if you still feel like something is wrong, there's always a second opinion. Because I actually changed doctors. I had one oncologist.
Oh, okay.
And of course, you find out you have cancer, you're full of questions, right? And I went to this appointment, and this doctor told me that if I wasn't so smart, my appointment would have been shorter. In reality, I asked too many questions during that appointment, and it would have been shorter. And me and Julie rolled at the same time and said, we're not coming back here. And I changed doctors. I actually reached out to another friend girl who I knew.
Paying a lot of friggin' money. I'm going to ask every damn question.
Every question I want. Hold on, let me go to TikTok and ask TikTok what questions I should be asking. But I reached out to another friend, and she referred me to two wonderful doctors here at Women's Hospital.
Yeah.
Dr. Zadaran and Dr. Kuntz. They took care of us. The whole system here is a wonderful system here at Women's Hospital.
Yeah.
You have dietitians, you have nurse navigators. So if 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have a question about what's going on with your cancer, there is someone that you can reach out to constantly.
Yeah. Now, I don't know, but the few times I've been here, like we had Asher here at the new hospital, we were really excited that it was like just in time when he was born.
Right.
The new one was built. But impeccable service.
Right.
The waiting wasn't very long ever, like I didn't find. And then like this morning, you were in and out
Yeah.
quickly. We weren't waiting long. You know, it seems like they really run things really
And they
well.
do, and they care about you here. You know, Grayson was here, and as everyone knows, we spent 5 months in the NICU here with Grayson.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, parking was an issue originally for me when I got here. And they solved that. They allowed me to park underneath the awning to come in and out for my treatment.
Right.
Because, you know, it was tough always finding a blue spot. And if we did find a spot where we double parked, it was halfway across the parking lot.
Right.
Which meant that if I wanted to come by myself to treatment, it was a challenge. And that's one thing that me and a couple of my friends, we need to figure out a way to advocate for, because people that's in wheelchairs, not all of them are at home sitting doing nothing. We are out living our lives, trying to fit into the community just like everyone else. We want to be able to get out of our car, put our wheelchairs out, and not worry about someone parked in the hashtags next to us.
Yeah.
We want to come to a door, not worry about the door beating us up when we open up the door. It's nice to have doors that slide open for us, because we're still trying to be independent just like everybody else, you know. And like I said, the hospital, they allowed me.
Yeah.
They allowed me that. So, like I said, it's a journey. Every day is I get up and I'm like, okay, God, where to today?
Yeah.
You know?
But you're on journey number 3 now. You
Yeah,
got
I
your-
know. That's what I said.
got your-
My sister says, God, I'm gonna give you so many lives now. So yeah,
Third time's a charm. Though,
I
right?
know, right?
So we got to make the most of it. And anything you want to say before we finish here?
First, thank you. Thank you guys for.
I was
supporting
thankful
us.
you invited me to do this.
Yeah, man. I want to thank my sisters. That's one of my main sisters that's here, because
We need to get everybody in. Everybody come in, big hug on camera. Come on, y'all squeeze in. You got to be recognized. You guys do so much, a lot more than I do. I just run my mouth. I got the easy job.
And feed us right on time.
I know. All right.
And feed us right on
Is
time.
that your dinner bell?
Oh, they gave me that bell in the bag, and she was just like ringing. I was like, so I'm gonna ring that bell anytime I need something. But I just want to encourage everybody. You know, we're all given challenges in life, right? We just have to figure out how we're gonna conquer that challenge, how we're gonna move through it, because there's a light at the end of that tunnel for everybody, regardless of how rough it is for you. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you're gonna make it through, and you're gonna look back at your challenges and be like, why did I cry about that? Why did I worry about that? We just have to take a moment and just breathe, and everything's okay.
Well, and you know, I lost nearly everything 2 years ago financially on a bad business deal.
Right.
And I told Jennifer that the day you called me, I was like, I started to cry a little bit. I was like, why the fuck am I worried about my problems? I was like, Angela has fucking cancer, Jen. I said, my problems are nothing. You know, like when you put in perspective, you know, oh, I lost money on a bad business deal, or oh, I broke my leg, or whatever it is. Like if, and I go back to that a lot now. It's like, if you have your health and you have your family,
Right.
everything else can be replaced.
Yeah.
It really can. The only thing you can't replace is your health and your family.
Right.
Friends come and go.
They do.
Not real friends.
Right.
But you know, like your ride or dies, that's family.
You and Jen are right.
And so, you know, it put in perspective for me, and it did. It just kind of helped me like stop worrying about business or the market was crashing or anything else. I was like, none of that matters, you know.
Right.
And so you inspired me, and you know, I look at you as a source of strength.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The people here, bring that bell again.
I know.
You're the inspiration for everybody.
Yes.
Big hug. Group hug.
I got a big hug.
Group hug.
Thank you.
Y'all got this.
Thank you, man. I love you. Good.
Don't thank me.
Y'all great.
Thanks for having me. Thank you guys. Y'all,
Thank you.
I hope anyone watching, if you want to reach out to Angela for anything, for
Please,
inspiration,
anything.
business, anything, she's the best.
Before we leave, Kim, would you like to say anything? Please, please, please.
She can put you on the
I'm
spot.
sorry. Please, Kim.
Just having the conversation that I had with you this week, this is your season. God placed both of us in each other's lives for a reason, and I just want to be that resource to you. I want to be that push to you. I want to be that friend, because now it's time for people to hear your story.
Right.
And you have a story to tell. And I would definitely love for you to be the face of her story this year, because people need to hear you.
Right.
So we're going to make that happen.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Now it's time for me to sing.
Oh, no.
Are you singing?
Yeah.
No, she's not singing. No, she's not singing.
I thought it was time.
You want to ring it down for me again? Ring it down with me again? On count of three? 1, 2, 3. Catch it.
Y'all, I didn't. So she made this special for me.
See how it works out?
Oh, that's good.
See how it works out?
We still live? I think we're good.
All right, girl.
Bye, everybody.